With that, ladies and gentlemen, Ross McNab. How are you?
G'day, Pete.
How are you?
Hi, sir.
I wouldn't
Good to
get up,
see you.
but I'm enjoying this chair too much. I didn't mean to be rude.
Thank you. My clicker?
I don't think, don't know the answer. Yes?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Thank you, sir. Yours back when I'm done. Good afternoon, everyone. Certainly pleasure to be here in such illustrious company. Off the bat, the keen eyes in the room may have noticed a change in the agenda from earlier in the late last week even, where our illustrious CEO, Joe Zawadzki, most recently seen in the glowing Business Insider article, was due to hold this speech. So here is this strange tall guy with an odd accent standing here before you. Please don't be terribly disappointed. I'm going to start off today by helping illustrate how Joe and I, we may have our differences, but we certainly are very similar in the end. First of all, Joe is from Canada. Yep. Where's my guys? And I am from Australia, not Britain. 50% of the room probably got that one right off the bat. Yes, that means we are very geographically far apart, right? However, we both get to win plenty of gold medals at the Commonwealth Games. Grew up very different places. An average representation of an average day in Canada, from what I hear. And every single day in Sydney, Australia. Grew up very far apart, but indeed we did grow up brothers from another mother. Accolades-wise, Joe successfully raised recently the biggest VC round in ad tech history. Well done to him. He's the winner of the YPO.org inaugural award for innovation in marketing and media. He's made the Deloitte Fast 500 2 years running. Featured in Ad Age, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, CNN, Bloomberg. Ross? Well, here's maybe we're a little bit different. I successfully raised a $5,000 limit on my Amex to start my last company. I was historically the online ad sales rep winner of the year, Australian version, second place. And I was once misquoted in the Australian Financial Review. Maybe the areas we are most different. But certainly most importantly for today's session, the area in which we are most aligned is a true belief. I've lost my slides. Keep clicking. There we go. The area where we are most aligned is a true belief in this notion and this ethos of performance reimagined and marketing re-engineered. Performance reimagined is about redefining the traditional approach to marketing by focusing on outcomes and not proxies to outcomes. Marketing re-engineered is about providing you the scalable tech that enables simple yet powerful solutions matched to those needs. So, channeling my inner Joe, let's get into the meat of it. The future of digital media. I'll start by quoting sci-fi writer, futurist, and explorer Arthur C. Clarke. His quotes, back a little bit. Sorry, we're syncing here. The limits of the possible can only be defined by going beyond them into the impossible. I think that certainly sets the stage for the rest of this session. So let's talk about the future of digital media, and hopefully we'll get to the future of all media whilst we're at it. Before we can explore the future of media, certainly helps to understand the past. One could argue that since caveman times, advertising has been a perilous business for you, the CMO. Our caveman friend here, he got replaced, right, by a guy with a bigger and undoubtedly louder megaphone. And maybe that's happened to you in some other form. Or perhaps you've been daunted by the challenges of proving ROI, begging for budgets, and applying the latest tools of the trade. But this conversation is much more about budgets, much less about budgets and tools of the trade, because there is a fundamental imbalance that needs to be addressed first in the process of buying media today. That imbalance, quite frankly, the biggest challenge we're facing is that media sellers have always set the terms of trade. right? Media vendors dictate the terms of the media that they sell to you. And they say, here's my inventory, here's my price. Some of us are better negotiators than others, but other than a bit of haggling, for the most part, you, the buyer, get nothing in terms of true accountability. You end up buying a lot of inventory that becomes indistinguishable in terms of what matters most. Did the media help you achieve your stated and measured outcomes? Sure, media companies provide some metrics, but you, the buyer, cannot define, or better yet, target to exactly what it is you need. Think of it this way. Typical media buy is like a bag of M&Ms. You maybe really only want the tasty blue ones, but you cannot buy only those. You buy a bag. You get brown, green, yellow, red. As a result, you're always overpaying for your media, right? Since you're always getting these flavors, these pieces that you do not want. And that leads us also to the issue of fragmentation, right? So if you can't only buy what you want, the fragmentation challenge is an issue. Media companies today, for the most part, all operate, jump back a little bit, all operate independently with their own metrics and reporting, further fragmenting your ability to make sense of it all, making it impossible or next to impossible for you to truly answer your CEO's favorite question, what is the ROI on my media spend? And this troubling problem of accountability is nothing new. It's been around, phrase coined over 120 years ago. Next slide. Meanwhile, 120 years later, what have we accomplished? We have sent rockets to the edges of the solar system. Last month, we published more content in a single month than we had in 5,000 years prior. We have expanded our life expectancy by more than 2 decades, and we've developed palm-sized supercomputers that are never more than a finger touch away. But how can it be that we still don't know which half of our media dollars are working? How is that okay? What about search? A few of you in the room might be asking, doesn't that go towards addressing the media equation? Sure, search was a great leap forward to accountability, to performance-based pricing. But search has its limitations, as I'm sure you're fully aware. The 2 big ones, right? 1, you can max out on spending in search very quickly. There comes a point where a dollar invested in search stops to have a rational return. Secondly, and leading from that point, search cannot build awareness. The reason search maxes out so quickly is that it alone cannot create demand for you. You need other programs to create that demand. Search can only respond to it. To create demand, you need to be investing in programs that will inspire people to be searching for your keyword, your category, or your product. Furthermore, search doesn't take into account the impact of other channels. It's this lush tropical island set away on its own. Very attractive place to be, but nonetheless an island. I'm not suggesting that search will become a relic like the items you see here on Castaway Island. But I would pose to you, wouldn't it be a lot better if your search results were able to be tied to the rest of your media investment? Wouldn't it be better if you could connect the dots from your awareness building media through to your converting media in search? And so, what is the solution? At its core, we believe the future of digital media starts with a word, and that word is software. Mark Andreessen, famous entrepreneur, investor, co-author of the Mosaic browser, somewhat recently famously noted, software is eating the world. Massive hardware companies, Hewlett-Packard, divesting outside of their strong hardware businesses, their PC business, to focus back their investments back in software. Coming at it from the other way, it's the traditional software businesses, Google, that are picking up the legacy hardware businesses like Motorola. Software is eating the world. But let's bring it back to an example relevant to this conversation. The analogy that we would use to talk about software and a marketing operating system, if you will, that is going to help drive the future of media, we would look at Bloomberg and the rise of the Bloomberg terminals in the financial industry. You think about the chaos and the manpower and the sheer inefficiency of that process. It used to work, but it didn't work as well as it possibly could. Bloomberg came along. The Bloomberg terminal, early days, there was one terminal in a big office tower down in Wall Street. The early adopters, the smart guys, they got behind it, right? They were the ones that were running up the stairs trying to book time with the shaman of the Bloomberg terminal. And what happened extremely quickly is that they clued on to the power that this software and this operating system enabled to change their business. The point of that is simple, right? If we give them the software, we give them the ability and the tools, they will do the rest. And why should marketing be immune? Software truly drives disruption. And we're not talking about incremental change here. We are talking about change of orders of magnitude. How you plan. We're talking about rewriting how you plan, moving from silos to multi-channel, multi-touch, truly responding to how your customers and your consumers consume media. How you buy media, going from that traditional people-heavy element, phones, somewhat email, faxes, moving that into a programmatically enabled environment. How you organize internally. What are the roles I need to have in my organization to support this? Importantly, what are the roles of my agency partners in this brave new world? For the agencies, it's encouraging a shift in their behavior and their value from being an executional arm in charge of supply and to a supply and data procurement program, right? Curating only the best media and data opportunities for you and your goals. And then really importantly, it is rewriting how you measure. And crucially, how you optimize against that measurement. And this is all possible today thanks to the rise of programmatic media. The environment, if you will, in which this software operates. It is the programmatic environment that this software sits that is designed to allow you to intelligently decision across all of your data assets, respond in real time to true market conditions with an always-on optimization approach against your true marketing goal. A real-world example, this is not just theory. A client very true to my heart. Very large supermarket chain down in the southern hemisphere, down under, who, for some context, control 49 cents in every dollar spent in consumer spending. Dominant supermarket chain, dominant petrol station chain, dominant liquor store chain. No truth to the rumor that 37 cents of that is spent in the liquor stores. What has this client done to embrace the future, to embrace programmatic? A few key things. One, they have understood the power of the data and their ownership of that data. They've onboarded all of that data. And the data we're talking about here, let's define that a little bit more. It's such a broad term. The data we're talking about here is all of their customer loyalty program data. They have 50% of the country's population in a loyalty program. We're talking about all of their transactional data from their storefront, their physical bricks and mortar stores, their e-commerce data, everything and anything they've got. And they deploy it for two purposes. One, to inform their own marketing programs. Makes sense. Second, and more interestingly, I think, is they're actually moving into a world in which they become a media proposition themselves, right? Creating a revenue stream off the ability to allow advertisers to target their unique data and their unique customer set. What else do they do on top once they've onboarded and activated that data? Well, they perform continuous creative and media optimization using machine learning against control groups, regression analysis, heavy work going on there. And really importantly, they track against a true marketing goal, right? Sales, and really specifically, basket value in their case. Crucially, the software is optimizing continually against those goals. The result? Well, early days for sure, but the indicative results we're seeing from this client are for every dollar they invest in media through this method, they are generating $40 return on investment. $7 EBITDA, because we're all probably familiar with the margins available in that vertical. But for every dollar, they're seeing 40 back. Compelling evidence that this works. So, let's break the future down. What does the programmatic future of media look like? Ingredients to the programmatic pie. 4. Number 1, every dollar spent is linked to a true outcome. We are now cultivating a class of programmatic first marketers committed to spending only with media companies that will share data and help link spending to outcomes. As more marketers adopt this approach, more media sellers will join in, increasing the pool of addressable inventory for all of us, allowing you all to buy only what you want against your true goals. Leading on from that, media sellers become part of the solution. When they are encouraged to align with you, media becomes no longer a zero-sum game with only one winner. Right? When they become part of the solution, when they align with your outcomes-based pricing, when they provide only the media and the data opportunities that are important to you and your outcomes, they win as well, because no longer are they a whimsical choice on a media plan, but they are fact-based value drivers to your business. Third, and maybe the biggest stumbling block that we see with advertisers starting to embrace this, data and actionability. What we're talking about here is creating a rich tapestry of data and insight that allow you to understand everything that goes on with your customer from the very first impression through to conversion and beyond. And this really is the secret power of programmatic. For the first time, you can control the data, control the complete activation on your own of your own asset, your own valuable asset, your data. And where are we doing that today? In digital today, that is being done in display, in video, in mobile, and in social. Many of you are already probably parts of pioneering programs into connected television, digital out of home. There are some mediums that will lag it, the physical nature of print. It's going to take a while until 3D printing and we start to be able to address that sort of opportunity. But this is certainly happening today. And then fourth and finally, it's about machine learning in real time. As I mentioned briefly in the Coles example, programmatic becomes even more powerful when these sophisticated algorithms are doing the heavy lifting and decisioning on your behalf. When you are testing continually myriad creative options coupled with media options, all aligned against your real goals. So now it's not about the media cost of that particular eyeball, it's about the value, the predicted value that it will drive, and what is the relevant price and time you will pay for that. It's about finding that Goldilocks impression, if you will. They're not too hot, not too cold, just right. Locating and paying for only the truly valuable opportunities, delivering a tailored message to deliver the desired outcome. The result? Well, the result, quite simply, is that you, the CMO, are in charge. You can direct your media spending as a quantifiable investment, not an optional expense. You can drive and measure outcomes between your brand and your prospects and customers and track all the way along the chain. Closing, at MediaMath, we believe that you, the CEO, are about to gain the upper hand here when it comes to managing and optimizing your marketing, your media expenditures. It may not happen overnight, and you may need to take a crawl, walk, run approach. Sooner or later, with the right software and operating system, the right environment, you will be buying media based on your requirements. So, let me wrap it up with another quote from our friend Arthur C. Clarke. What he said was, every revolutionary idea seems to evoke 3 stages of reaction. 1, it's completely impossible. 2, it's impossible, but it's not worth doing. 3, I said it was a great idea all along. I really look forward to hearing many of you in the future months say, I thought programmatic was a great idea all along. Thank you.
Come join me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So a couple quick questions as I listened. So room full of CMOs, as we have the conversations periodically at different dinners about programmatic or even just the future of this kind of ROI-based, objective-driven, whatever, what should CMOs be caring about versus delegating to other people in their organization? Your opinion.
Sure. So, I think a couple of key considerations that need to go in off the bat is, one, what does my partner ecosystem look like in this new world, right? Specifically, what is my relationship with my agency? What are the terms of engagement with my agency, with my primary media vendors, with the important publisher partners that I have in my media ecosystem, and what does my technology stack look like to enable that? You know, 3 core decisions there, and how each organization is going to address those, I mean, comes back into the competency that exists within that organization and how quickly that organization can fill the gaps in that competency to get there.
Got it. You talked about this operating system.
Sure.
And I would also submit, I think this whole piece is very misunderstood so far in the industry.
Sure.
So maybe you kind of clarify for people that love kind of a little more details around what you mean by that when you say the operating system.
Sure, and I think I'll go back to the Bloomberg terminal example, right? So if we think what happened prior to the Bloomberg terminals being installed and becoming available, is that all that work was done in a very manual way. I mean, I don't know if anyone, I started my very early career working in a I guess we'd call it a pit back in Australia. The chaos and order that then came out of that chaos was amazing and probably just completely unbelievable to anyone who wouldn't have seen that today. The analogy goes there, well, then the Bloomberg terminal came in and was a piece of software, was an operating system that sat on your desk that enabled you to make far more intelligent decisions with data at your fingertips that you would say increased value for your business and for your investors. And I think we really see MediaMath and companies like us as the Bloomberg terminal for marketing.
Interesting. Where, from your perspective, so again, I understand the kind of the algorithms and the approach to do that. Where does, as marketers, we always still sometimes do things from our gut. Where does that fit into this equation going forward in the future of media and optimization?
Sure. So, important point, 50% at best value we feel strongly is in this world is going to be delivered by the technology. The platform, the decisioning algorithms, all of the pipes and pieces that come along with that. 50% or more is still going to be delivered by the people, by the human expertise, building competency in this field, in programmatic strategy, in media understanding how channels influence each other, and true understanding against the real goal, right? So, very strong human element today and continual in this
it's interesting. Is that, I don't know if everyone else agrees, that's the first I've heard that. I've always felt like whenever you hear people talk about programmatic or whatever, it's always like that's changing everything to that.
Listen,
that's interesting.
It's not, anyone who's ever been in a room with you and said it is a truly simple thing where you push a few buttons and you pull a few levers, completely incorrect. There is certainly an education period to come up to become competent and expert in this space. What it isn't though, it's not rocket science. Right, and you often hear the phrase, oh, well, this is the bunch of rocket scientists, and, oh, we need to start employing rocket scientists, and some of your agencies maybe even have, claim to have employed rocket scientists. You guys don't need rocket scientists, right? Who needs rocket scientists? We do. We're the ones who are building this on your behalf. And we don't have rocket scientists, we have astrophysicists, and they look down on rocket scientists.
Right. Well, good. Well, listen, Ross, right at time. I want to thank you very much. Great conversation. And by the way, I don't know about you guys, I'm sure it was much better than Joe would have been. Ladies and gentlemen, Ross McNab. Thank you very much.